Hello, and welcome to another TechHub.Training video solution. In this video solution, we're going to be looking at the Alteryx block until done challenge and showing you how you can use this really useful tool in your Alteryx workflows. Okay, so let's show you what we got. So basically, just a brief overview. You're an audit manager and you have a team of auditors that you're creating an Excel workbook for. And that Excel workbook is going to have the list of audits that they're doing on taxpayers, but it's going to be for each individual auditor. They're going to have their own specific sheet. So let me show you what the original CSV file looks like that you're going to be working with. You can see here you have the audit ID. This field is the assigned auditor, so Alice, Ethan, and Diane are the different auditors. And then it just has information about the taxpayer and different information about the audit that's happening at the time. Okay, so let's close this, and then I'll show you what a traditional solution to this maybe would look like that someone would try to implement and the issues that can arise from that. So you can see we've input the data here, and then we're simply just filtering it based on who the assigned auditor is. So we got Alice, Ethan, and Diana. And then we're outputting. All three of these output tools are going to the same workbook, but they're writing to different worksheets. This worksheet's named Alice Johnson, Ethan White, and Diana Lee. So while this looks good, if you run it, you might see that there's some challenges. And those challenges come from the different flows here, all trying to write to the same workbook at the same time. So let's run it and see what happens. Okay, so I ran it and you can see that we have 2 errors, but we don't have an error on this one. Let's go and click on the errors and see what it says. And it says unable to open archive for zipping. So let's go and look into this Excel file that we just wrote to and see what was output. So if we look, we have some audits, but only the ones for Alice. We don't have a specific sheet for the other 2 auditors on our team. And the reason that happens is because when it has the file open at this point, writing to Alice, these other ones are trying to also access the Excel file, but they can't access it because it's already being opened by this other flow. So a way to get around this and to just really get around it is by using the block until done tool. And it's a really handy tool that allows you to kind of manipulate your flows and only let them flow into the output file when you want it to. So, and while this is a really simple example of how you can use block until done, think about, as you're going through this activity, think about how it could be applied to some more complicated flows, as this is a common challenge that people run into. So let me just show you how to build it from scratch. First thing we're going to do is put in our input CSV. So all I'm going to do is simply go down to my File Explorer, and I'll pull that up here for you so that you can see it. And then I'm just going to grab this block until done CSV. This is the same file you'll be using, and drag it onto there. Okay, so now we have an inflow of that data. And then we're going to want to figure out, let me turn this off real quick. We're going to want to figure out how many different auditors we have. We already know in this one that we're going to have 3, but assume that we didn't know how many auditors were in there specifically. And the way that we can do that is by using the summarize tool. And we go and select the assigned auditor, and we click group by. And if we do that, then it's going to group all rows into this into a distinct value. And so if we do this, we'll get a list of all the different auditors that are unique that we have. Okay, so we can see here we just have Alice, Ethan, and Diana. If there were more, it would have showed more, but we know there's just those 3. So now what we're going to want to do is take this block until done tool. You can see it has 1 inflow and it has 3 outflows. And we're going to want to take this data and have it flow into here. And essentially what it does is it says whatever's coming out of the second flow can't run until whatever came out of the first flow is completely done and it has reached its endpoint. And so by doing this, and it's the same for 3 can't run until 2 has reached its endpoint. And so by doing this, it's not trying to all access the same workbook at the same time. So let's set up our filter activities. And I'm just going to drag all 3, or I'm going to drag 1 and then copy it. into 3 right here, just to be a little bit quicker. Okay, and then we're going to want to connect these 3 outflows. And then we're simply going to go into this filter tool, and the column we're selecting to filter on is assigned auditor. And we want to filter only to those rows where the name is Alice Johnson, one of the 3 auditors that we have. So let's just say assigned auditor equals Alice Johnson. Okay, and then we're going to be doing the same thing for Ethan White, and then we'll do the same thing for Diana as well. So let me just type that out real quick. Okay, we've got those filter tools set up. Let's run it and see what happens. Looks like everything ran correctly, and we'll go to this true side. And you can see here now we have all the rows where the assigned auditor field was equal to Alice Johnson. Same for Ethan, and the same for Diana. Perfect. Okay, now the next step is simply to output to the desired file that we want. So let's go to our in and out section and grab our output data tool. We'll drag it there, and let's just copy and paste that 2 more times. Okay, perfect. Now we'll hook that up on the true side where the correct data was outflowing. Okay, and now here we're going to write to a file or database, and what we're going to be wanting to write out to is a new Excel file that's within the same folder that our Alteryx workflow is in. And the way that you can specify that is putting in a period and then putting in a /. And if you do that, the period just basically says whatever folder that we're in, just reference that folder. That's the same place we're outputting to. And then the / enters into that folder. Okay, so I'm going to name this one just something random. Maybe I'll call it tax audit assignments .xlsx, right? Because we're writing to an Excel file. And then if you want to specify a specific sheet name that it's going to write out to, what you do is 3 pipe delimiters, just like that. And then you can write whatever you want after that, and that's going to be the sheet name. So for this sheet name, because these are the ones for Alice, let's just write Alice Johnson. So that will create an Excel sheet just for Alice Johnson. Let's do the same thing here. Let's see, and we're calling this one tax audit assignments. This one's going to Ethan White. And then do the same thing here for Diana. Tax audit assignments. Diana Lee. Okay, so let's see if this runs correctly. If it runs correctly, then there shouldn't be any errors. And when we open up our file, there should be 3 different sheets in there. So the moment of truth. It's done running, and it looks like there were no errors. So let me go to my File Explorer and open up that sheet. Let's see, here it is, tax audit assignments. Open that up, and let's see if it wrote out correctly. And it looks like it did. We have Alice Johnson's, Ethan White's, and Diana Lee. So keep this in the back of your mind as you're working in Alteryx. This block until done tool, it could come in very handy someday if you're running into errors and you're not sure why. This is a great way to alleviate some of those errors when it comes to trying to write to the same file at the same time. Thank you.